Hey guys, it's Ron from Wild and Weird Radio over here in the studio. We have been incredibly busy over here at Wild and Weird Radio, getting things ready. We're now in the step-down holiday type season. If you haven't checked out the Thanksgiving show, please go over and check out the Thanksgiving show. That was very, very good. We had some incredible news that dropped recently on the episodes as well. You need to go check those out. Enjoy this, however. This is from May 2022. It features Micah Stacy and Brent from Appalachian Unknown, and our good friend and sister, Jessie of Hellbent Holler. Enjoy this look back. I think it was the first time that Joe actually mentions his sighting publicly of the orb that he had encountered. So everyone, enjoy this episode and look back, and we will have a new episode for you next week.
Welcome to Wild and Weird Radio, a Wild and Weird West Virginia podcast.
Orbs, ghost lights, spook lights, will-o-wisps, fairy lights, whatever they are and whatever we call them, they've been plaguing photographs and videos since the beginning of the media. These wispy balls of light have been seen for as long as humans have kept records. Some are attributed to ghost activity, usually a tragedy where a wandering soul carries out some ghostly quest far beyond the grave. Other tales say that they're condemned souls who must wander the earth forever in penance for their crimes. And though there are a fair number that can be explained away as dust, backscatter, or any other number of photographic anomaly, there are those which fall into the UAP category, which are being taken very serious at the moment. What might these be? Could they be related to not only ghost activity, but also UFO and even Bigfoot? In this episode, we're joined by several local investigators who share their data and ideas about what orbs may or may not be. And we look at some recent videos sent in to us from a viewer. This video is best viewed on our YouTube channel, Wild and Weird WV, where you can watch as we go over our findings on the mystery of orbs in this episode of Wild and Weird Radio.
Welcome back to Wild and Weird Radio, everybody. We have a great show planned out for you guys today. We are going to be covering one of our favorite phenomena, and a phenomena that I think all three of us have actually experienced. Am I right?
Yep.
We are going into a deep dive on orbs tonight. We're also going to be bringing on some special guests who've had experiences, as well as some researchers who have also been diving into this topic as well. So remember, before we get too much farther into this, go like, share, and subscribe right now on whatever channel you're listening to. So if you are listening to us in a podcast, smash that subscribe button. If you're on YouTube watching the video, go down there and hit the notification bell and hit subscribe. It's really easy for you guys. It costs you nothing to do, but it helps us out tremendously. If you're listening on Facebook, go like and share the crap out of this page, because, you know, we love you guys. And that's what, you know, you do to love us back, is just like and share.
Wow. That was probably the best way to put that. And don't leave Jess out.
Yeah. If we don't have like, shares, and subscribes, poor Jessie will be wandering around filming Hellbent Holler videos all by herself.
She's going to do that anyway.
And
yeah,
make sure that you go follow
She'll be wandering
Jess,
around the forest, sad and alone. And the only music that she'll be able to play is In the Arms of the Angel by Sarah McLachlan. Okay. So please like, share, subscribe, Hellbent Holler. Go like, share, subscribe for Wild and Weird West Virginia. And without further ado, All right, guys. So we are back with you now after our little news segment. We had to bring in our guests for tonight, and we've got with us Micah Stacy of the Eldritch Society joining us, and he's going to be talking about some of his research and experience with orbs, as well as Brent from Appalachian Oddities. He's going to be going over his experience and research as well with orbs, and we're hoping to bring as much available content as we can and put it on the table tonight. So I am ready to fire this thing off if you guys are.
Well, what started all this, Joe? Why don't you tell us about that? Like, why do we choose this subject?
Well, this subject, it's this year, or the last really 12 months. I've been very fascinated myself with the orb phenomena, because up until then I really almost dismissed it, just because I was like, well, maybe people were seeing lights they just can't identify, until I actually had an experience with an orb. Well, what launched us down the path for this week, beyond just that base research there, is that a friend of mine, his name's Dave, sent in a report to us at Wild and Weird to examine. And it was an audio clip that he had captured with his game cam. And it is quite possibly one of the best unexplained lights that I've ever seen on camera. It's wild. You guys are just going to have to see it. So here in a second, Ron is going to cue that video up and let you all watch this video along with us. And then we want to get your comments as well from Micah and from Brent, and get what your input is on this video, because we're going to tell you all the debunking that we did for it as well. And see what you guys think. So Ron, if you want to go ahead and cue up the video, we'll show everybody that now. And go from there.
Okay, let's go ahead and fire this up. So let's back it up and go ahead, Joe. Tell us a little bit about what we're seeing here.
Okay, so
you go ahead and narrate over it.
I'll narrate what's going on. So what happens here is the game cam is initially triggered. If you look back there on the road, you see a set of eyes pop up, and then the rabbit jumps over the ditch line and then runs up the hill. It seems to be able to see this light. This trail cam is set up about 75 yards away from Dave's house, and he's able to just kind of watch comer goers as they are. And you can see the bowl there in the frame. If you notice, there's absolutely no reaction to the light. There's no refraction coming off the water. There's no reaction on the environment to this light. Now, we have tested what a laser would look like under IR. You would actually be able to see the laser stream, because it was one of the things that we thought of was maybe there's somebody hiding in the bush that is, trying to strike the camera with a laser just to blind it. But if that was the case, you would actually be able to see the stream of the laser. We tested this theory. Then we started trying to figure out if there was any kind of atmospherics. In the picture, you can see that the atmospherics are really pretty calm. There's no wind blowing. There's no rain. It's just a cool 41-degree night. No storms, no nothing. And so there's nothing that could explain environmentally the light. There's also not anybody out there walking around with a flashlight. If you would strike the around with the flashlight, it actually doesn't trigger the IR sensor to go off to start recording. The only thing that can do that is
there's no lux difference as well, like on the trees or anything, Joe.
None. Yeah, there's no light splash anywhere. So it's not on the ground. There's no splash on the trees. There's no splash on the ground. There's no splash on anywhere. All you see is just this orb. And
you notice right here, back it up just a hair. You can see that it seems to be changing shape and moving. It's not like a solid circle. It's not.
It's almost plasma-like, isn't it?
Yeah, there's like a see-through side little tail, I guess, but it's almost see-through.
Well, if you also watch the pattern, I want you to watch this too. You're going to notice that it's almost moving like it's not a straight line. It's a S. Do you see that? It's almost like an S curve right here. You see that?
Now, one of the things to note about this as well is that this IR camera is set to the highest sensitivity and farthest distance that it can possibly pick up game or any kind of activity on the camera. So any movement is going to actually trigger the camera to kick on. Dave and I had spoke, and he said that there's been times that the pine tree, I think that's a fir that has caught air, and the fir has moved up and down, and it is that's actually triggered the camera itself. Now, this object is moving. You can see it has this plasmatic movement to it. It's also, like Ron said, moving in this S shape. That is not being detected by the camera. So we have in this footage a self-contained light that is undetectable to an IR camera, but seems to be visible to the rabbit. So I will pass it off to you guys at this point to see what you think.
I think that it could be a reflection, an IR reflection as well. But what it reflects and moves like that, I don't know. It's not an insect, I don't think, anyway.
It's like this so
time
bright.
Go ahead, Mike.
I was just saying, like, how bright it is. Like, I can't think of anything that would be naturally occurring, like, that would put off that much brightness.
Well, this one really
you can see there's a tracking on the light too, as well as when you move it back and forth. It's very intense, and it's intense enough to leave a track in the video. So now, when you're looking, say like it, because it is 41 degrees, that's warm enough for some of the miller moths and brown moths to be active, right? But with that being said, a miller moth or a brown moth, the small brown moth, is not going to reflect this much light. And you would also see a flutter. It would almost look like a candle trying to be blown out, the way it just kind of flickers. You would see a flutter in it as well. I looked at a lot of footage on an IR of those two species of moths, as well as a few other different species of moth, just to see if there was any possibility of it illuminating the way that this subject does.
Brent, what's your take?
Well, one thing that I'm noticing on this, and I haven't seen this myself with orbs. If you'll notice up in the upper left of the video, and also across the right side, you're going to see reflection. That means to me that is its own light source. Because reflections, I haven't seen too many lens flares come from reflections, but I may be wrong on that. It seems to me like it has its own light source, because you're seeing the lens flares across the screen.
It's strange.
Also there's at the first of the video, there's a light at the back of the video that just disappears.
Oh, that's the rabbit. You're seeing.
Yeah, that's the rabbit.
Mm-hmm. That's his eyes.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to scrub it. Yeah, I'm going to scrub it right here, and I'll let you see. Watch.
Now, if you're watching it in full definition, you can actually see the rabbit.
You can actually see his tail right there hopping over. But he's looking at this way, and then he's like, "Yeah, I'm out of here," and then the light moves into position.
Okay, I see it.
It's kind of weird.
Okay.
Yep. And another thing that we tested. Another thing we tested was fairy lights. Dave Roberts, one of our researchers here, was curious what that would look like. So sure enough, the string from a fairy light shows up like it's illuminated itself.
You can see the string. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Guys, I don't know. This one really, I mean, that's why you're here.
Well, it's familiar to me, Ron. Remember whenever you and I had our first discussion about this? It's familiar to me because I have seen something similar to this. Mm-hmm. Now, in this video, this is infrared. What I saw was lit up and in color. It was out in a cemetery in West Virginia. But but it was lit up like that right there. You know, it had like a faint glow around it. I mean, that right there is very familiar to me.
Yeah.
And I'm not knowing if I'm seeing it reflect on that bowl down there. Or
Yeah,
not.
I couldn't. That's what I was trying to find too. I mean, we can scrub, and if you watch that bowl, I don't see any reflection.
And there is water in the bowl. You can see the water line in the bowl.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
The glow from whatever it is not bright enough to even cast on the ground.
Right.
Has this gentleman put up any other cameras or attempted to follow up on this in any way?
Yes, if you notice, the duration of the record time is only set to 30 seconds. So he's increased his recording time, and he's also placed a couple other trail cams looking into this area that would be further. You can see this camera in that lens, if that makes sense. And
that makes sense. Yeah.
He has had activity around his house several over the years. He's a retired gentleman. He's lived in this area forever. They almost got burned out during last year's big fire that burned the P&W. And they almost lost their property. And he said that activity seemed to just basically go away after the fire. But now this happened. He posted it up and then got in contact with us. And we've been kind of going along the journey with him, because this is actually fairly recent. We've only had this video for 2 weeks. And it's been 2 or 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
And
yeah,
we wrote up the report. We've contacted Stan Gordon. Now, what's interesting is the next video that we're going to watch is sent from a gentleman who is 5 miles down the road from him, because he was talking to one of his buddies and said, "Oh yeah, I've got this. These guys are looking at this recording that's real weird." And he showed him the video. And he said, "I got some guys looking at it, and they think it's actually something bizarre, something unknown." And Bobby sent these in.
This is video number 2.
Now, if you look, there's a small object actually in the middle of this one that is. It almost looks like a strange 3D object.
It does look 3D. This thing, it seems to be rotating around the bottom of that, whatever that is. Again.
Now I've seen these kind of phenomena happen, especially during rainstorms. You can see the bugs flying in the back. It's 56 degrees in the background. And this video is from 2014. So this is an old video that this guy had on his computer that he held on to.
Yeah, he thought it was something neat enough to hold on to, and I guess.
And then he sent that to us to examine after his friend Dave told him that, we were looking into this subject for him. And I've seen similar orbs occur during rain, but they also have a tendency to track with the rain. They don't float around as if they had some kind of a mind of their own.
Well, I'll give you one for this. First of all, let's rule out some stuff. I thought, this is either something close to the lens, being reflected, possibly blown around, in like a spider web, something like that. First of all, we look at it and we see this weird curvy motion, which is what we saw with the last one. It's just a really bizarre movement. As you can see it track right there. See that? That's the same S track that we saw on our last one almost. See that? Mm-hmm. And we also see it kind of doing a revolution. This looks like a 3-dimensional object to me. I mean, I don't know. I thought, well, let's go ahead and see, could this possibly be hoaxed? Because everything can be. I see absolutely no sign of hoax. And here's
if you see over here in the top right corner as well, you've got a small brown moth that flies.
Yeah, that's back. Important. Yeah, he's right. Where's he at? I've seen him
right there.
There he is. So there's our bug motion. You see that? He's right there on the right.
You can even see the flutter in it. You can see the agitation around it. even though it does kind of show up as a sphere, this is commonly misconstrued as an orb.
Yeah.
But
that's kind of a rod, isn't it? Isn't that what they used to call them?
Well, I think if that one was on a slow exposure, it would probably look like a rod. Yeah,
it would. Now watch this though. This is what really got me and said, well, I don't think we're dealing with CG. If we scrub up to this frame right here, stop, pull it back right there. You can see the raindrop or the rains that's coming down right here is actually in front of that, which means that it looks like that orb is actually behind that bit of rain that's coming down in front of the camera right here. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
So again, this is another weird one. Brent, you're going to notice that over also on the left, you may be able to see this. There is what appears to be a secondary reflection.
Yeah, you're about to show it right here.
Is it right here? Because I'm looking at an angle.
I see it. Yeah. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, right there. Right there it is. See it?
Mm-hmm. But you know how this one right here, like on the last video, there was a hue around it. This doesn't have
it. Mm-mm.
So I'm wondering what the difference between those two is.
Yeah. Yeah, this one almost looks more, like I said, almost like a three-dimensional ball or sphere, you see. I don't know, guys. This is a weird one. Jess, what's your take on any of this at this point?
What's weird is it seems to follow the motion of the fatter of the two raccoons.
Yeah.
It seems like when it dips, like you were saying, the bit of an S pattern there, the dip it does.
Right
he's
there.
actually going at a rounded angle. So, but there's nothing on the raccoon that is reflecting in the camera lens or anything. It's a raccoon. So I don't know. It's just weird that it kind of follows with his motion. I have nothing. I have nothing of importance to add to this. I don't know, but you can see that kind of dark the little bumps on it seem to rotate around, so it does look like it's kind of in revolution.
And look right there at the little bump that's on the right. Do you see that? It actually seems to stick out of the actual sphere right there.
Yeah, it cuts the light. Like this almost looks like one of those videos you watched in 6th grade biology, and you're studying the absorption of a cell.
Yeah. Yeah, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can see it rotating.
I mean, it's weird, guys. This is a weird one.
Mm-hmm.
Micah, what's your take on this?
Well, towards the end of it, you can kind of see there's like a reflection of the same size and shape of it to the left.
That's right.
So that probably means it's like lens flaring off the camera.
Which means?
Yeah.
That it's putting off its own light.
That's kind of what I'm getting at. Yeah.
Unfortunately, with this one, there is a big spotlight being shown on the ground.
Yep.
So we can't determine, unlike with the previous video, if this light is a self-contained light or if it's illuminating the ground. Obviously, we're getting lens flare on the camera, just like we were with the previous video, but we can't tell with this one if there's any reaction on the ground itself.
Right. It's just way too bright out there. It's washed. But if you guys will also notice, when we see this little secondary reflection, the lens flare of it, notice how dim it is. That means, and our object is pretty dim too, right? So that's kind of an indication that, like Brent said, this thing seems to be giving off its own light.
And you see the line of the spotlight. You see where it's a little darker and all that. If this was reflecting light, if it was as it got closer or further away, the amount of light that it's giving off would change. It's not changing. It's not getting lighter or darker. So whenever you have a trail cam, and trail cam has its own little light above the camera, as bugs get closer, they get brighter. This isn't changing. Yeah,
this is weird.
So for those of you who are on the podcast right now, if you have had an orb experience of your own, can you recall if there was ambient light being splashed on the surroundings or if it was a self-contained light? Jesse, we'll start with you.
Every time that we've had orb experiences, they're self-contained, because if there is any kind of risk of contamination, we just have to throw it out. So if there's any kind of ambient light or anything like that, or our flashlights are, pointed in that direction or anything like that, we have to throw it out because that's contamination. So it would only be acceptable to us and be considered an orb if it has its own self-contained and self-produced light.
Micah, you're up next.
My only experience with the orbs, I didn't physically see them with my own eyes. They just showed up on the camera afterwards.
Very common, actually. Yeah.
So I would take a picture, and I wouldn't see any orbs or anything in front of me, but I'd look at the photograph later, and I'd see weird stuff on it.
That's your typical paranormal type orb.
Yep.
Is what that is.
Yeah.
And those have been showing up literally since the first camera was made. A lot of people attribute those to dust, right? But then there are those that don't quite fit the dust model. So you got me on these guys. Or
a lot of times there'll be artifacts from other light sources that hit the lens and create artifacts. So.
Backscattering, yeah. But this whole orb thing is not necessarily just limited to the parapsychology, paranormal, ghosts and whatnot. So, and it goes back, right, Joe?
Yes, this phenomena goes back all the way into ancient Mesopotamia. And you've got these spectral lights that seem to appear, and they move around. They go, some of the ones that people are probably more familiar with are going to be I guess you would call them more Celtic or Northern European lore, following the will-o'-the-wisp kind of line of thinking. And this one, my particular sighting was sort of not chased down because of the lore behind the will-o'-the-wisp, but you've got these lights that seem to have been around since we've been around, if not longer. And they're these anomalous, luminous lights that just appear in front of people. You've got everything from temples being built for these things to lore that says they're evil and you should stay away from them because they'll lead you to your death. Then we've got more that just explodes from all of these different cultures and civilizations throughout time, where they just continuously see these light artifacts in real time. They're seeing them move around. We've got instances all throughout Asia, all throughout South and Central America, through ancient Mesoamerica, leading all the way into the ships and the pirates as they were sailing out in the sea. So this isn't something that seems to be mutually exclusive to being on land. Mm-hmm. These lights seem to just appear throughout. And there's been, through the research that I've done, I've pulled together some ideas, because a lot of the similarities between the Celtic, the West African lights, the lights that are seen here on the East Coast have one thing in common.
What's that?
That would be the Appalachian Mountain Range.
Oh, the oldest, yeah. Mm-hmm.
The oldest mountain range on the planet.
So the Cherokee have a legend of the Nunahi, which are a supernatural race. They say that they are Cherokee, but they're a supernatural race of Cherokee that is sort of an offshoot. But they're supernatural beings. It's often wrongly translated to mean the immortals, but it's the people who live anywhere. But they are said to live within the mountains, and that they are not a hostile race, but they come and they move through the woods and the mountains at night. And some legends say that they use a lantern. Others say that is the light from their eyes. So you'll see these orbs or these self-illuminating lights going through the woods and through the mountains. And so then it was always attributed, the Cherokee would attribute it to the Nunahi. And that ties in also with fairy lore, because you would never follow the lights into the woods, or you would never return, because while they were not a hostile people or a hostile set of beings, they did not want you coming to their mountains or their dwellings unannounced. So you never followed the lights to their dwellings.
Kind of like will-o-wisps, the same legend, right? We're talking about the same thing, aren't we? I mean, kind of.
And of course, Ron, if you talk about the will-o-wisp and everything like that, if you follow the lights and then you go missing for a while and then you come back, there's a lot of fairy lore around that. You know what that kind of relates to.
I got a lot of fairy lore about that.
Yeah.
I could go into. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But, guys, I mean, this kind of sounds like we're talking about the same thing. So these ghost lights, and I told you, I think that's why we changed the categorization from UFO to UAP, because some of this stuff it's a phenomena.
Well, we have these lights, because clearly the ones that we're having showing up on the two recordings that we've just shown everybody are of a vastly different size. Mm-hmm. Than the ones that are being seen, for example, by Dawn or by the other witness that sent something in to us. Mm-hmm. Because they're seeing these orbs up in the sky.
Yeah,
these are visible light sources
extremely bright
in the sky, and they're extremely bright. Now, personally, and this is where the show can get interesting, I don't feel that they're necessarily completely related. Mm-hmm. But there's a possibility where they could be, because I know that, like you had just mentioned, you view it, and Stan views it the same way, that these are more like micro UFOs or small UAPs. Technically, for lack of a better terminology, I guess so. But are they the same source? Are they coming from, are we experiencing something that is terrestrial in nature or extra dimensional in nature in our bubble here versus what we're experiencing and seeing in the sky? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Are they correlated? Are they
go ahead, Brent.
The orbs that I was able to visibly see out at the cemetery that I was telling Ron about, they seem to play with each other. Okay, it's like there were three up in a tree and they were red. And they came down to the ground. They turned into two blue orbs that were about the size of a kickball. And they played around a little bit. And then split into four green ones. Now, what were the colors? I don't know. I don't know why the colors. And when they were the four green ones, it was like an ethereal version of Tag You're It. They were chasing each other around.
So did they change colors as they like merged or touched or anything? Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, I can't explain it.
It's wild.
The three came down, they merged and became two large blue orbs. I don't know why. I don't know how. And then those two blue orbs became four green ones, which were about the size of a softball. So it's, I can't explain it, but that's what happened. You know, there was other things that happened, but we were talking about the moving of the orbs and all of that, and that's what I saw. I don't have a video of it because we had packed up all of our gear. We were leaving out, and so all I have is what I can tell you.
Well, I got to tell you guys, I mean, what you're describing is pretty much, I've heard this multiple times. And, you know, one of the ones we did hear this from was one of our witnesses who started about a year ago, actually, when she reached out to us. And we really thought, well, this would be an easy one to debunk. And it turns out it was not that easy to debunk. They were seeing lights that were doing some weird things. They were changing shapes. They were doing the collar thing like you were talking about. They were swooping down on them. There was all kinds of crazy stuff.
Now, the major difference, though, between hers and his is that hers were aerial. These are flying up above the mountains.
They were aerial, yeah. And
my mic was turned off a second ago because I was actually chiming in to say, hey, you know, you're citing what you had seen there in the graveyard. It has these correlations that also tie to what's being seen in the sky, where these balls of light will almost play with one another or fly around one another, change colors. See, that one to me sounds more in line with almost the UFO phenomenon, just down on the ground. That's wild.
It is. The thing pretty much exhibited the exact same stuff that we hear a lot of these witnesses. That is a recreation based up. Well, this is her actually the area where she saw it, and these are the lights as they appeared over the ridge. I recreated those for her, and she says it's 100% accurate. Pretty close anyway. But this is what these things were doing. They would come in and they would start changing shapes. Kind of like you just said, they seem to be intelligent when you kind of throw that kind of stuff into it, you know. But are they, or are we just kind of inferring intelligence based upon that movement, you know, that we're seeing? I don't know. But and again, I think it's two different, maybe different things, Joe. But they do seem to be operating off of this same weird energy source or something to that nature. This seems to be whatever that light is. It seems to be the same kind of things these people are seeing. It's just like the same with the Marfa lights. They've been.
I was going to say it sounds like the Marfa lights or the Brown Mountain lights. Even
Brown Mountain, yeah, exactly. So these, go ahead.
So you know that I think it's the University of North Carolina is currently doing a study on the Brown Mountain lights, where they have cameras facing it. So, and they've actually gotten some interesting activity from that study that they're doing.
Yeah, I'm telling you, there's something out there to that, and it's not just swamp gas, in my opinion. The next clip that we have here, this one was actually a reported as a UAP a couple of weeks ago, and this was over Nitro, West Virginia.
And now this is an actual light, not a recreation, right?
Yeah, this is the real
photo,
deal. Yeah, that's the real deal. That is a still frame from the real deal, and he took really good, clear shots of this thing with his phone, actually. Tried to hold it as still as he possibly could, got the reference points we needed. And there's actually a video of that up, and I'll provide a link in the description below for anyone who wants to watch that. But this is a really good, clear image of it. And if we zoom in, we're going to see something very familiar here to these orb shots. You don't want to zoom too much in because you're just going to get a bunch of pixelization. And this is what we see with so much with these things. This is as far as I'm going. Anything else would just be complete speculation. But look at this. Look at the color change. Look at the wispiness around this edge. This is pretty much what we just saw with the rabbit and with the other one. More with the rabbit, I think.
Yeah, they're like real blob-esque. It's not like a perfect circle like most of the most of the like photos that you see of ghost orbs are.
That's right. And with this one in particular, he actually thought this was a plane. This was denoised and stabilized off of the video. That's all was done. There's nothing else done to this. He took a really good shot. But he said that this thing looked like he thought it was a plane crashing. He thought there was fire coming off of this thing and it was a plane crashing. And then he's like, uh-oh, that's not what that is. Pulled his camera out and started filming. And then immediately got a hold of me. And we had other witnesses to this. So it's not just him. Several people saw this thing. I don't know. But I do know that it sure looks a lot like the same kind of energy signature or I guess spectral signature is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, we don't have anything to reference.
No, that's the problem.
Picture. Is that up in the sky or is it on the ground?
That is. Yes, that is. That is probably about 50 degrees or so off the horizon.
Okay. Well, with some of those that are up in the sky, you would have atmospheric interruption.
Mm-hmm.
You had the heat waves, the wind, the different particles in the sky that would make it kind of, I don't know, warp.
Yeah. Exactly what we see stars do. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But still, like what you're showing right there, it's not a solid object.
Yeah.
Like when you see an airplane going through the sky, you see the lights. That is a solid object. So the light from that is going to be a lot different than a light that's not solid. I can't think of the word to use. But anyway, there's a big difference between the appearance of both of those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the spectral signature is completely different on those. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. A light from a solid object is going to have a center, a focal point, where that doesn't. That whole thing is glowing.
Mm-hmm. So do you guys think that these, it kind of sounds like we're thinking along the same line, that these aren't necessarily a physical object, that they may be a gaseous type object?
The movement and behavior, it kind of suggests in a manner that is the case. I know that we've mentioned the sightings that Jess has had and that I've had out in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
The movement was very fluid, and there was no ambient light coming from this light. It's beyond explanation to try to pinpoint what it was.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the ghost light phenomena or ghosts, because we've been riding this train for a minute, and I think we've all kind of come to a general consensus that this is truly a strange aerial phenomena that's taking place. But I want to get us into the ghost lights, the ghost orbs, and things of that nature. I know that all of you guys are going to have some input there to add into the hat. So Brent, we'll start with you, and then Micah, you will go after Brent, and we'll go from there.
Well, we were at a house in Dingus, West Virginia. Now, what I like to do when I'm trying to capture like orbs or something is I'll place a camera in a room that has no light whatsoever. So I take a full spectrum and I set it on the TV. And we were checking the other parts of the house, when all of a sudden, out of one of the rooms came a streak of light. And I looked for that video to try to send it to Ron. I couldn't find her soon enough. But anyway, it had a streak of light come through. And, so that orb had its own light because there was no other light in that room. It was not reflecting anything. It was giving off its own light as it came through. Now, that house was really dusty. So in a lot of my videos there, you're going to see all kinds of dust. But that one was very interesting because there was no light, nothing to reflect. And it came right out of a room and came into the living room. That's the same room where I had set a teddy bear. And the next time I saw the teddy bear, it was moved. So, yeah.
That's what I like to call multiple validation, and that's important. Yeah, that's great, man.
I've had other things pop up like that with a lot of times whenever it's an orb, I don't get into the argument with people when they want to say Yes, that's an orb. Yes, no, it's not. That's dust, bugs. I let people come up to their own ideas. They can say what it is or what it's not. But I will put it in my videos. If I see an orb following me into another room, I'll put that in the video. And they can come to their own conclusions about that.
Well, yeah. I mean, and I've said this before too. Back when I was with Ghost Watch, it was like, people were throwing away orbs because they were dust. And yes, they can be dust, and sometimes they are dust. But here's the thing: we both know what attracts dust. Static charges attract dust. And we also know that some of these so-called ghosts or entities, what have you, generate what seems to be static charges. So if we do have a transient static charge that's moving around and we don't know why or how, that thing could be pulling dust right along with it, couldn't it?
All right, Mikey.
I thought about that part. Right?
All right, Micah. Let's hear your views here.
Well, I'm always like on the fence when it comes to pretty much anything around this stuff, because it's like I have the belief like no one knows anything about anything. Like you can't prove ghosts, you can't disprove ghosts. Who's to say what the lights actually are? But if you've seen the photos that I've taken that had the orbs in them, they don't really look like traditional orbs. And like I picked up some weird lights that were in like different shapes, and it was pitch black when I took those pictures. So I don't know, like there was no light to reflect off of anything. For the ones, it was like a line that was just like a straight light. Most of the orbs that I get are like smudgy. They look like black smudges. I don't really have any photos with like traditional orbs in them, but I don't really have a lot of photos of orbs to begin with. Those all were taken at Lake Shawnee, like 2013, 2014, sometime around there. Lost my train of thought.
So you're saying that your images are of you don't have traditional orbs in your images, and you're saying that some of them are like black smudges. Do you think that this maybe do you ever see them in kind of like a figure, like a humanoid form, or is it more of just a anomalous blob of blackness?
Yeah, it's like a blobby looking black smudge. It looks blurry. It's like someone just kind of like went into Photoshop and just used like blur on like a draw tool and just
pretty interesting.
Made just like a random smudge.
Yeah. So a lot of times, anytime there's kind of like, there's lots of stories out there of people seeing these black smudges and these black blobs associated with demonic activity. So that's pretty interesting that you're finding those.
Yeah, that is pretty cool, actually. Because we typically don't hear about the dark ones. I mean, that's, when you hear orbs, it's typically like, they're going to be the lit up ones, the translucent type, But yeah, what you caught there, that's something completely different.
Does anyone have any idea what that might be? You've got the lit ones, and then you've got those that are void of light.
Yeah.
So what's the difference there, I wonder?
Yeah.
I think they could be absolutely unrelated. It could be absolutely just not related, or they could be related, or you don't know. They don't seem to share a lot of characteristics, though, other than it being just an anomalous blob. But it seems like it doesn't seem as orbs are not common, but it seems like it's even more rare to see these black smudges. I can't wait to see these images.
Yeah.
So with the black smudges, were they, say the others, we saw this like gaseous orb. The smudges, were they like a streak, or did they have some more form other than just like a circle?
They were more like a circle. It was like a blobby circle, but it was more like a circle. Okay, so I was taking pictures of the Ferris wheel at the Lake Shawnee amusement park. It's
for everybody who is unfamiliar with the Lake Shawnee amusement park, Micah, why don't you just give them a real quick rundown of the amusement park there and some of the history, since you've been there and done some research in the site.
Well, it's like it's an abandoned amusement park, but it's owned by someone. So it's kept up a little better, but it's a lot of deaths happened on the property while it was an amusement park. But what's real interesting is the history with like Native Americans and pioneers. There was actually like a massacre that happened on the site. What's really interesting is I picked up some names on a spirit box while I was there, and then I found a plaque that had those exact same names on it.
Wow. Validation.
That is a trip. Oh man, that is so cool. All right, so tell us about these photos then.
Because we're going to be looking at them right now. So just go ahead and, explain what we're seeing, because this is going to be your commentary I'm going to put over top of it.
All right. The one I'm looking at right now is the Ferris wheel. There's a like brown smudge up in the left-hand corner. It's circular, but it's not like a perfect circle. I don't think I see. Oh, there's one off to the right.
Okay.
It's like it's making the image blurry just in a circular pattern, just on that one little area. I took photos of the swings there, and I can spot like 4 brownish, blackish smudges like around the swings. The other images that I thought were really interesting were the lights that look like just like squiggly lights, because they were taken in pitch black. Like there were no lights around there. And I have 2 photos like that. One, I posted in like ghost groups and everything, and people were like, "No, that's a bug." It is not a bug. It's got like little wings like a bug, but I have no idea what it is. I've been getting like weird lights and the black smudges together.
And your light source at the time was what, Micah?
It was like an iPhone 4.
Okay.
And it didn't even have like the flash on.
Right.
If there was any light in those pictures, like of the Ferris wheel and stuff, they have like spotlights set up for people who want to go ghost hunting at the night there.
And that kind of phenomena is what we're looking at, guys, right? I mean, It sounds like it.
We're dealing with this strange light phenomena or strange capture phenomena in the case of the photos. We're getting these disembodied lights, these gaseous lights that seem to just appear. And just like Ron just disappeared and reappeared. But yeah.
Ron is also gaseous, so.
Hold up. Something's going on here. What are you doing? I don't know.
Yeah, you just look really washed out. You're in
I
focus.
see that. Carry on.
Ron is transcending. So anyway, we're seeing these bizarre lights take place out in the forest. Now, we're going to go down a little bit of a different track. We've covered some of the just random mysterious lights, will-o'-the-wisp, some of that stuff. As we opened, we've talked about the haunting aspect and the photos and ghost with the paranormal aspect of this. Now, Jesse, let's have some fun, because we're going to talk Bigfoot and orbs for a little bit. I don't know how familiar our guests are with this topic, but if you guys have anything to chime in, please do, because I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Now, my particular sighting and Jesse's particular sighting, we were out and we were not looking for orbs. We were looking for basically anything but orbs, and then orbs happened. Now, I've told my sighting before, but I'll give you a brief rundown for the guys who are with us here and the listeners who are new. Those of you who know us and have been around a while, you've known that I was on the TV show Finding Bigfoot, and that I went out with the guys doing a night investigation. I was with Cliff Barrickman, and I was his guide around the forest, because I know that area like the back of my hand. I actually took him to one of our research areas. So we were on our way back. Cameras are cut. We're done. Filming's over. We're walking back, and it's like a 2-mile hike back to where we were set up. Not quite 2 miles. It was like 1.5. So we're on our way back, and we had a great night out Bigfooting. It was phenomenal. And then we're walking back, and like me and the camera guy both see this. Cliff is glassing with his thermal because we'd had some weird stuff happen around us. And so he's not paying attention to what's going on directly in front of us. But me and the cameraman saw this. We both were under the interpretation that this was one of the guys walking towards us with a headlamp, maybe bringing us batteries or, telling us, hey, our comms are down, we just need to fix something, or just coming out there to be with us for whatever reason. Until this light darted off down a very steep embankment and just disappeared. So this thing happened, and we have no explanation for it. Now, we were out, we were having possible alleged Bigfoot activity, and we had this light suddenly appear. Now, Cliff, when we told him, because I audibly responded to what I was seeing. The cameraman audibly responded to what we were seeing. And Cliff was like, okay, hey, what did you see? What'd you see? Where we go? And then he asked, I said, I don't even know if I want to tell you what I just saw, man. I don't. And he said, just tell me what it was. Just right now, whatever it was you saw, it's the freshest in your mind right now. Tell me. So I told him. And then the camera guy was like, yeah, that's what I saw too. And Cliff was like, well, I've heard enough and read enough about the will-o'-the-wisp to know not to follow that thing. So I vote we don't chase it. And I said, I'm with you. Let's just go back to base camp. and that's what we did. Now, this light did not shine any light on the ground. It didn't illuminate the trees as it was moving. It looked like this white beacon light, and then suddenly darted out of view down a ridge line and out of sight. So we were out Bigfooting, and we had a weird light show up.
And that happened on the Chestnut Ridge as well.
It happened on the Chestnut Ridge. It happens in so many Bigfoot reports that have been sanitized, that get scrubbed.
Oh yeah, that's important to acknowledge. You may not know, but typically your Bigfoot guys will throw these away.
They will.
These kind of events, they just don't fit, so they get thrown away. And with us, we put everything on the table, no matter how weird it may, it may look.
A lot of Bigfooters are they're flesh and blood, or apers is what we call them. And then anything that is outside of that paradigm is junk. So if the report sounds really, really good and it's very promising, they'll scrub the light portion out of it. They'll just not acknowledge it, and they'll go investigate the creature. Sometimes if the sighting isn't up to their snuff, they throw the entire thing out because of the light. But like Ron had mentioned, we don't do that. Everything goes on the table. And then especially after it happened to me, it wasn't a mass hallucination. Me and another guy saw it. I wasn't just seeing lights because we'd been out in the dark forever. Me and the camera guy both saw and described the exact same thing happen.
Well, it changed your perspective on this a lot.
It did. It really did. So. It was a paradigm shift for me, because I was already with you, as far as everything goes on the table. We can't discredit everything because these lights are probably unrelated in some way. But in one way they are related. And we've just got to weed through that to find out what's going on. Well, now here we are, and I'm face to face with this predicament. And hold on, getting an audio anomaly. Is anybody else hearing that?
It's like a truck going by.
You gotta be kidding me. Are you serious?
It's that same thing that happened with you last night. It's gone now.
Yeah, I hear it. Whatever it was.
That was literally the same amount of time.
All right, so it's gone now. All right, I'll pick back up.
Okay.
So I was faced with this paradigm shift, because now this thing had happened to me. And even though that I was already of the persuasion that all the data goes on the table and you don't throw anything out, now I'm looking at this phenomena like maybe they actually are connected, because now it has happened to me while I'm out doing the thing. And it was just a very bizarre instance. and being able to talk to other people that have had this shared experience now. Like for instance, you, Jesse, I want you to tell yours, just a quick rundown of what happened with the last set of orbs. I mean, I know you've shared it before on the show, but just to refresh everybody and let everybody on the call hear this.
Sure. So I have three big instances where I've witnessed and experienced orbs before, and I've mentioned them before. But I'll go through them real quick. Just to clarify, in terms of sightings, I have never had a direct Sasquatch sighting. I have found footprints, and I heard a lot of very, very strange noises, but I have never personally seen a Bigfoot. So these orbs, they could be involved with a Bigfoot encounter or not. What I was experiencing could or could not have been Bigfoot. That's why my whole thing is I don't know what's out there. I know that this is not normal. I know that this is paranormal things going on, and it could be Sasquatch, or it could be some sort of woods spirit, or the woods haunted, or you know what I'm saying? And that's kind of what I do, and that's my whole thing. But it's so strange that sometimes we will go out, and we're going out on an expedition looking for Sasquatch activity, and we'll go out and we'll do this research doing Sasquatch activity, and sometimes we'll find prints or sometimes not, but we go out there and we're just like, all right, we're gearing up for this, and then all of a sudden all we get is all of this classic ghost and haunting activity, including orbs and everything. So it's funny how the paranormal finds you, and the high strangeness kind of weaves in and out, and always leaves you wondering what's going on and keeps you on your toes. So one of the first instances I had with these, we call them spook lights generally, in the Carolinas. I don't know if you guys call them that in West Virginia.
Yeah, that's exactly what we call them here in West Virginia as well. I think that's more of an Appalachian term.
Okay, that's what we call them in the Carolinas, is spook lights. Yep. Our first kind of incident with that was, it was in North Georgia, and it was in one of our main research areas that we've had a lot of strange activity in. And I have a video out. It was one of my bigger videos where I didn't see this light. Joe did. We were down by the river, and where our tents and everything kind of were, on a little bit deeper into the woods and off to the side. And this is thick woods. We're down by the river looking up this hill, and Joe sees a light, and it was just a large burning light, and it was like orangish red, and we're like, wait, we put the fire out, so it's definitely not that's not the fire, plus the fire's over there. The fire was way over at the other side. This was way off to the left. So Joe could see it, I couldn't, because I'm so short, I couldn't see it, so I was trying to look. He said that the light itself was illuminated, and then it was kind of like an iris, that it just slowly went small and disappeared. So that was really strange to me. It wasn't like it flashed, it didn't quickly go out, anything like that. It slowly just turned into nothingness, and closed like an iris. Another orb instance we had was at Lost Cove, and that's in North Carolina, and that's an abandoned ghost town. It was a railway town, and it's part of the Great Smoky Mountain National Park, I believe. No, I don't. It might not be. No, not that one. But anyway, it's in a national forest or a national park, or it's protected land. But anyway, there's no roads to get to it. Everybody that was living in the town had to leave the town because the railroad stopped running through there. So what's left now, and you can go hike there. It's a very, very difficult hike. There's only one way in and one way out, and it's a very difficult trail down this mountain, and it's kind of a heartbreaker, especially with a bunch of gear. So there's only one way in, one way out. There's a few buildings still there. There's an old truck there because there used to be roads there. And then there's a cemetery and just a few odds and ends. You can see old like rock walls and things like that. So we went down there. We wanted to check it out. We hiked down. There was nobody there. It was winter. It was really, really cold. It was early January when we went, and it was freezing. There was nobody else down there. And like I said, it's kind of a heartbreaker of a hike. But we went down in the afternoon. That way we could hike down, hang out at night, kind of investigate at night, and then hike back up in the middle of the night. So we did that. And we had some weird things happen. The graffiti is very strange. In some of the buildings, there was a really ominous feeling. It was very eerie. It was very dark and had a very, very dark energy about it. But we didn't have anything overtly scary or strange or anomalous happen while we were down in the ghost town. Except a rabbit did run at me from the bush and scare the hell out of me. So it was an attack rabbit and it wasn't Monty Python. So we were hiking back up, and we hike up this trail, and we're getting on the ridge, and we're right above the town, and you can look down in the valley where the town was. And Joe kept seeing these lights, and I was like, I can't see them because I'm trying to hike and trying to pay attention. We had our old IR camera that wasn't quite as good as the one we have now. And I was trying to film and trying to see if I could see them. And then I finally saw these lights. I saw 2 of them. And they were like, again, like a burnt orange, deep orange color. And they're down in the valley. And we know for certain there were no other people down there because we'd been all over the place that entire evening. And it's really hard to get down there. And there's no way anybody is hiking around there at night without like a flashlight or anything like that. And we know there was nobody there. One way in, one way out. So we see them down in the valley, and they're there and they're moving around, and we see them down there, and then they just go out, and then they come back on, and they're in another location. And it was just so strange because we know for a fact there was nobody else down there. So I don't know what to make of that, but I did get that on. I did get them coming on my old camera, and I'll send Ron the footage. I'll get that together and I'll send Ron the footage and he can put it up. I am going to mute the footage because we curse a lot because it was our early days where we cursed a whole hell of a lot.
Well, I can't say much about it. I'm glad the cameras weren't rolling while I was with the Finding Bigfoot crew because there were explicatives that just burst out of place. So
as my channel grows, I got to kind of clean up my act a little bit. And then my most recent encounter with these orbs or these lights that are out in the woods is my last video that I released. We were going back to our camp, and we were looking up and driving up the road trying to get back to our camp after we had those little eyes come behind me, and I saw those the wolf on the trail and everything, and we were both really freaked out about everything that had happened. And so we're driving back up to where our tent and everything is, and camp is on top of that hilltop, and you can see in the video the light through the woods, and you can see it up there. We thought somebody was at our camp. We thought somebody was at our camp messing with our stuff, and or perhaps we left a lantern on in our tent. So we went up there because we saw a stationary light, and then we saw a light moving around, and these were white lights. And so we get back up to camp, and there's nobody there. There's nothing there. There's no way to get down the hill. Again, one way in, one way out. And we get up there, and there's nobody there. So that was really scary because we were so close to it at that point. We were like insanely close to it at that point. So that was one of the scariest things. And we were like, there's no way we can sleep up here. We've got these anomalous lights going in and out of our tent and everything. No, there's no way we can sleep up here. So, and it seems like it's just happening more and more frequently where we see these really, really weird lights, and we try to debunk them as best we can because we carry a lot of lights and everything with us. So we know that there's not artifacts or anything like that. So, but it just seems like the more you keep looking for this stuff, the more you find it.
I absolutely agree with you on that. And, as I said earlier, I talked to Stan this morning, and he kind of says the same thing. He also said that he will have his newest book out within the next couple weeks, guys, and there are details of this type of stuff in it. He didn't go into it, of course, it's for the book, but there are details of orbs and this orb phenomena. That book is going to be Creepy Cryptids and Strange UFO Encounters of Pennsylvania, and I cannot wait to read this. Yeah, and we'll have him on after the book comes out too.
That'll be a good one. So, Micah, what are your takes on some of these lights in the woods that are being seen while doing cryptid research, or what we would refer to as cryptid research?
I'm not entirely sure. If I had to make like an actual guess, though, maybe it's just some kind of phenomenon that we just haven't discovered yet. Or if you want to go like the interdimensional route, maybe some kind of like being that we haven't discovered yet.
I think that's
accurate. It's undiscovered.
Yeah, I think that's about as good as you could really ask for. I mean, especially I don't know. I don't know is a great answer.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot of researchers that would just say I don't know.
But
so,
you mentioned the interdimensionality of it. That Ron Moorhead talks a lot about Sasquatch using these orbs that they transfer their energy. They come in and out of trees and they transfer their energy and become the orbs, and that's how they travel. I think that's a really interesting concept. But it kind of relates to the quantum Bigfoot with Ron Moorhead, which I think I bring up at least once or 6 times a week. So
it's a good book.
It's a great book.
It's a great book.
We plugged a book that isn't out yet. Let's go ahead and plug Ron's book too. If you don't have it, go out and get it. It's great. Quantum Bigfoot is a great book, and it is deep, okay? But it's also understandable.
Yeah, it's a great book, and it is one of those books that kind of stick in the crawl of a lot of Bigfooters as well, which is not necessarily a bad thing. So
it's great. It's great. Trust me.
So Brent, what is your take on some of these lights that we're seeing out in the woods or being captured on these game cams?
Well, I was kind of thinking about this a little bit when you was talking about having gone to see Bigfoot and you happen upon lights. I don't know if any of you have ever been hunting, but if you set up yourself beside a creek, you're going to continually hear that creek running to the point where when a raccoon steps in it, the sound of the water changes. Okay? So when the sound of the water changes, you look towards it, you try to find it. You try to see what has changed the sound of the water. So while you're out there looking for Bigfoot, you're going to experience other things because your sensitivities have heightened.
It's that hyper attunement.
Hyper attunement while you're out there, yeah. So that's why when you're like these apers you were talking about, when they're out there trying to find Bigfoot, they need to pay attention to the lights, to the other things that's going on, because that can lead you where you're needing to go. Okay? The light that you saw, a lot of people say, don't chase after the will-o'-the-wisp or whatever, if you subscribe to that. But it could show you that here is your area. Here is where you need to look. A lot of the places that I have found, it was because of things like that. Someone says, well, they saw a Bigfoot here, so I'm going to go to where they saw the Bigfoot. I may see lights. I may see spirits. I'm not really sure, because that's why at Appalachia Unknown, we follow the things that people don't normally follow. You have your folklore, your stories of the will-o'-the-wisps, the stories of the wild man in the woods, things like that. And it all leads to something else. Where is it going to go? What's it going to teach you when you get there?
That is a great way to look at it, Brent. That's almost, like the, the whole thing with, the messenger type phenomena, isn't it? That's really cool. I like that. I like your definition.
And oddly enough, now that night, I didn't go into that area, but I have now been in that area where we've seen that light multiple times now.
Yep, that's right.
Because we saw that anomaly, I'm like, I want to see if this can be recreated. I want to see if this is something that'll happen again here, or if there's just anything else going on, because it could be interested in the light. Whatever this light's doing, if it was interested in what exactly was happening in that location itself. That's a great point of view to look at this from, and that's
I
awesome.
like it. Yeah.
So real quick, we're coming up on our time wall here. We're going to go ahead and start wrapping up. And Brent, we're going to go with you first. Go ahead and plug your group. Tell everybody where they can find you and what you guys do.
Well, my group is Appalachia Unknown 2019. Yeah, I have YouTube channel by the same name. Also on Facebook, it's at AU in Ashland. We're located in Ashland, Kentucky, but we go through West Virginia and Ohio. We do, just different areas. Like I said, we follow folklore, and we follow, I've been to some big name places, but that's not what I do. A lot of times we try to just help people that don't quite understand what's going on in their home. They don't understand what's going on in their land. Sometimes they let us post a video, sometimes they don't, but I'm not really there for the video. I'm there to help.
That's awesome. We can relate to that as well, because it's very similar to our research approach, or not necessarily research, but our investigation approach. Especially when it has to do with witnesses and their sightings.
Sometimes they don't want to be known, man. I've got more stuff that we can't show than we can show. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. So guys, if you all are in Eastern Kentucky and interested in all this Appalachian lore and investigation and haunting stuff, you can go look them up on Facebook at Appalachian Unknown. Same on YouTube. Go check them out. Micah, where can everybody find you, and what do you do?
My main account is Eldritch_Society on Instagram. It started as like an urban exploring photography page. So if anyone's into that kind of stuff, I have that on there. Started doing spooky art later on. Just kind of whatever I felt like creating at the time. There's a lot of paranormal stuff on there too. Those photos of the ghost lights and the ghost orbs, I have those saved on there. I also have a new paranormal research and investigation group called Sleepwalkers Paranormal. You can find us on Facebook. There's no content at the moment, but that's coming soon. It's like a brand new group. And I feel like I might as well plug my other photography page, which is if anyone's into horror and sci-fi and action figures, I do photography of collectibles and stuff like that.
I think you just described our audience. So yeah,
I think you did. You absolutely hit the target market, my friend. So I'm pretty sure you'll pick up some people. So get some content. Hopefully. On that.
So again, both of you, thank you for coming on the show. We really appreciate you, and we look forward to having you back again someday. If you've got some awesome, any kind of really, really good evidence that you want to show, or come on and talk for a few minutes, just get a hold of us. As for everything else, Jess, go ahead and wind us down.
Do your thing, Jess.
You ready for that spiel, everybody? Okay.
We're ready for that spiel.
Thank you guys for watching Wild and Weird Radio. Remember to like, share, and subscribe these videos, because that's how we get in front of other people who love all things wild and weird. If you're listening on any sort of podcast aggregator, make sure you download the episode. That
was a $5 word.
Aggregator. So make sure you download the episode, as well as like it, and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, because that gets us higher up in the numbers. We want to make sure more people see the podcast and hear the gospel of the Wild and Weird crew. My name is Jessie Lee, and I own Hellbent Holler along with my partner Joe. We go out in the woods and we hunt Sasquatch and all kinds of things that go bump in the night. You can check out my YouTube channel at Hellbent Holler, or you can find me on Instagram at Hellbent Jessie, Jessi, just an I at the end. Of course, we have with us Joe Perdue on Instagram. He is Skinwalker Sculpts, and he's starting up his cooking project again on Facebook. So
yeah, you're gonna
keep an eye out for that.
It'll just make you hungry. Don't go.
Yep.
We've got Ron Lanham. He is Lanham Ron on Instagram. And you can always find the guys and me at wildandweirdwv.com. Make sure you join the Facebook group, because there's always a lot of crazy and weird discussion over there. And they really, really do a great...
Weird.
Yeah, and they really do a great job of putting up reports and discussion on news stories, and it's just a nice little group over there. Even if you just come by just to read, go and check it out. It's a big group of people, and everybody really likes the paranormal, and everybody has a good time. So thank you for joining us tonight. Guys, you got anything else?
Well, you got to always remember, if you haven't liked, shared, and subscribed to both Hellbent Holler and Wild and Weird Radio, there is an orb floating around out there aimlessly right now who is flickering and on the brink of its last flicker. And if we don't get those likes and shares and subscribes, its flicker might flicker its last flicker. So
that was deep,
save
man.
this orb.
That was deep. You guys definitely join us next week. Joe,
Stay
go
wild,
ahead.
weird,
Take us
everybody.
out. Yeah.